This is the very last video I will make on this platform. As you're probably aware, on Saturday, most of us in the United States saw this message. There's a lot of discourse that has happened between Saturday and Sunday and today regarding TikTok. Part of it is people who feel that creatives who depend on the platform should get another job. Another conversation that is having is people who feel like that this app is a waste of time. It has always been a waste of time, and it's just people making silly little videos. And then there's the larger discussion about whether or not this is all considered a distraction and whether we should be focused more on more pressing issues such as mass deportations and the ceasefire and the fires going on in California, and then the winter that is going to be blanketing the United States over the next few days. However, this whole ordeal with TikTok is far more consequential than any of us have ever imagined. And I am transitioning to my YouTube channel, which is called Just Sharonda, and I'll still be posting this video on that channel. But the fact that I'm using this platform to make this video is exactly why we should take this whole TikTok ordeal seriously. In the 9 years that TikTok has existed, it has not only been a platform for like cute little dance videos and other mess that has happened here, but it has also been a platform for marginalized voices. Some people use it as a source of news and media, and that there is the important thing that we must consider and we must think about in regards to a government coming in and saying, hey, you need to sell to an American company, and then that company in turn pulls this political stunt about, hey, this president has saved TikTok, and then it coming back on as a platform, and now things don't feel right. It's very much a tactic. It's literally a Nazi tactic, and it's something that we can't let slide. You should not let it slide. It's literally out of a Nazi playbook. TikTok represents kind of a simpler time with the internet. I'm old enough to remember how the internet used to be back in the mid 90s, where you had message boards and you had all of these groups that would come together on the internet. And TikTok kind of represents that now. Like, you have a lot of people who are marginalized voices. You have people like me who feel a lot more comfortable using social media to voice our concerns and opinions of the world because of either ableism in the real world or barriers that we face in the real world that limit our voices. So you have those communities, but in turn, just like in the mid to late 90s, you also have a rise of other groups that want to infringe on those marginalized groups' rights. You have a rise of authoritarianism that has happened, and you have a rise of anti-feminists, you have a rise of anti-intellectualism, and it's real easy for us to say that this has only happened in the past 9-10 years, but that's not the case. It has been happening since the 60s. It has been happening since the rise of the mid-century civil rights movement. It has happened with women's lib. It has happened with gay rights movement and the anti-war. It stems all the way back to the mid-60s when we had policies in place to prevent discrimination in workplaces, to prevent we had the Equal Rights Act that almost was passed as law and never got passed because of Phyllis Schlafly and some other anti-feminist groups. You had Title IX that has been passed in the 60s and 70s. So you have all of these policies. And from that, in the United States, you have had a very strong backlash. So in the 90s, you had that backlash online, and that's where it started to rise. And you're seeing that again. And it's really hard to drown out those voices And you see a platform that most people who are marginalized have used, but you also see this other rising faction trying to take over those voices, and now they have the money and the power to do so. This is all part of a larger culture war, and part of that culture war is not just, the banning of TikTok, but, a lot of people have ignored the Pornhub thing. And it's real easy to ignore the Pornhub thing because porn, or corn, I should say, because I'm on TikTok, makes people uncomfortable. However, it's the same cultural war where it's a form of censorship and a form of violation or going around the First Amendment right to free speech, whether that is using something like TikTok as a media and citizens media platform and as a platform for free speech that the government is literally trying to control, or the government trying to have these moral laws that they make on the state level that are preventing this free speech and this free expression of sexual expression. So it's like you really should pay more attention to the Pornhub bans that are happening across the country, because they're the same as TikTok, where the government is coming in trying to control a private company that, and it's making it a censorship issue and making it a free speech issue. And they're circumventing the First Amendment. In regards to all of this being out of a Nazi playbook, what you need to remember about the Nazis and about Stalin and about all of those very oppressive regimes was that propaganda and media played a huge role in winning people over to those policies. And even on our side here as Americans, like we had, Ronald Reagan, which is kind of funny because he started a lot of this in the United States. But Ronald Reagan in the 1940s, that was his war contribution, was to actually make propaganda films for the United States military to sell the total war to Americans. And it's very similar with places like Nazi Germany. That's why you had people like Joseph Goebbels. They put in a huge effort into making all of these images. So like, for instance, yes, on TikTok, you still see trad wife content. You see content about people having scores and scores of children. You see content about happy, simpler lives and, being entitled to certain things and privileges. All of that is the literally the same propaganda as Nazi Germany used to do under Joseph Goebbels. To labor the point even further, a lot of people pretend that 1984 is their favorite book, but as a reminder, the main character, Winston Smith, that was in 1984, his job was working for the Ministry of Truth, which was a propaganda ministry where he was they were taking articles and cutting out certain things and censoring certain things out of the articles and dismissing whatever evidence there is. So in a way, TikTok coming back, and now you have these issues with some of the creators not being able to platform as much as they can, changes in the algorithm, now saying they're not able to be monetized. I'm hoping you see the parallels now. So what can you do about it? First of all, have an archival plan in place. I archive all of my videos that I have on here, and you should too. You should keep them in a place that is outside of social media, preferably like on a hard drive or something that can be locked away, a physical copy. And secondly, make sure that you try to make your voice heard if you are able to outside of social media. Thank you for listening to me rabble.